make sure I'm ready for this video real quick. Got my notes? Check. Pepsi? Check. Sunglasses? Check. Hat? Check. And yes, thick skin? Check. Let's go. Welcome to Golden Bluted, everybody. If you are a college football fan, please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button because that's all we do here. Videos every single day. And when you get a chance, go check out our Patreon page. We have a lot of great perks over there. We call our Patreons the shot callers because they call the shots around here. Remember, $5 and up Patreons will get to decide the game that we're going to live stream in the regular season, and you'll get to watch with me, Golden Bluted. And our score prediction contest will be coming back. Every week I'll pick out a game, and my Patreons will pick the score, and whoever comes close to the score wins $20. And you can win as many times as you want. As you can see, I'm still wearing these ridiculous looking sunglasses because I can't find the ones that I usually wear. But my invisible, non-existing assistant says I need to wear them to keep the tradition going. You're fired, buddy. Anyways, if I can't find my regular sunglasses by the end of the day, I'm just going to buy a new pair because these are ridiculous. But today I want to talk about Texas, specifically Steve Sarkisian. Look, I still think it's a big mistake that Texas hired Steve Sarkisian. And the more I looked into it, the more it didn't make sense. I mean, let's look at Steve Sarkisian's resume real quick, okay? So he was at Washington from 2009 to 2013. They did get progressively better under him, but little by little. 2009, 5-7, 2010, 7-6, 2011, 7-6, 2012, 7-6, and 2013, 8-4. Yes, that's getting better, but barely, inch by inch. That doesn't scream great head coach. Then he moves on to USC in 2014. Went 9-4, that's a decent season, but then went 3-2 before leaving or getting canned from USC. So his resume, not great. I understand he had some pretty good offenses over there at Alabama, but you need somebody that's proven to be a pretty good head coach to take over at Texas. Texas is a big, big brand. Probably the biggest brand in the nation, although Notre Dame would have something to say about that. And I warn Texas fans this was a mistake. And what happened in 2021? They went 5-7. They started off the season hot, though, beating Louisiana 38-18, but then went on the road and got spanked by Arkansas 40-21. 3-game winning streak, though. Beat Rice 58-0, beat Texas Tech 70-35, and at TCU 30-27. But then came the Red River rivalry. It looked like they had the game won, but then Oklahoma switches quarterbacks on him, comes back to beat them 58-48, and that stayed in their head. This shows me that Steve Sarkisian is not teaching mental toughness, because what happens after that? They lose to Oklahoma State 32-24. They lose at Baylor 31-24. They lose at Iowa State convincingly 30-7. Then they come back home and get beat by Kansas in overtime 57-56. Go on the road, get beat by West Virginia 31-23. So that was a 6-game losing streak. They did finish the season by beating Kansas State somehow 22-17. Texas had talent, but they didn't have mental toughness. And once again, in 2022, Texas will have talent, but they won't have mental toughness. Here's a look at their schedule. At first I had them going 7-5, but they could very well go 6-6. You have Monroe at home, that's a win. Alabama at home, that is a loss. I know you have hope, Texas fans, but it's a loss. Mark it down. UTSA at home, I'll give you a win. And then a road trip to Texas Tech, and I had this as a win for Texas, but the more I looked at Texas Tech, they could be better than what I realized. So that could be a loss, Texas. Then you get West Virginia at home, and I graciously gave you a win there. Red River rivalry against Oklahoma, that's a loss. Iowa State at home, they're going to be trash. That's a win. At Oklahoma State, that's a loss. Then you get your bye week at Kansas State, sleeper in the Big 12, that's a loss. You get a rebuilding TCU at home, that's a win. At Kansas, you do get your revenge, that's a win. And then Baylor at home, that's a loss. So 6-6, 7-5, better than last year, I guess, but that's still not up to Texas standards. Look, you're just going to have to swallow your pride and admit that it was a mistake hiring Steve Sarkisian. So where do you move on from here? I think Lane Kiffin could end up in Texas within the next 3 years. There's another thing that factors into this. The Arch Manning factor. Look, you already have a 5-star quarterback with a perfect rating in Quinn Ewers. Arch Manning has decided to come to Texas. He also has a perfect quarterback rating. But the difference with Arch Manning is legacy. Do not mess with the Manning legacy. If Steve Sarkisian is not getting the job done by the time Arch Manning is your starting quarterback, get rid of him. Who would be a good replacement to make the most for Arch Manning? I think the answer is Lane Kiffin. Let's look at his resume. Now, he has had a choppy past. In 2009, he went 7-6 at Tennessee, then skipped town and went over to USC. He actually did pretty good at USC. In 2010, he went 8-5, 2011, 10-2, 2012, letdown year, yes, 7-6, and then started 2013, 3-2 before he got canned. So he did get fired at USC. He did go to the Alabama rehab for coaches from 2014 to 2016, and he got back into head coaching. Did pretty good at FAU. 2017, 11-3, 2018, 5-5, 2019, 10-3. Then he got the call back up to the big leagues at Ole Miss, and he's done pretty good at Ole Miss. In 2020, went 5-5. In 2021, 10-3. How will Ole Miss do in 2022? I think they're going to do pretty good. First, they get Troy at home. That's an easy win. FCS Central Arkansas at home. That's an easy win. At Georgia Tech, that's going to be an easy win. Tulsa at home. That's an easy win. Kentucky at home could be a test, but it is at home. That's a win. At Vanderbilt, that's a win. This is pretty smart, actually. Your first two road trips at Georgia Tech and at Vanderbilt, both pretty much a guaranteed win. Then you get Auburn at home. That's an easy win. Then at LSU, that's going to be a test, but I think Ole Miss will be the much better team. I think that's a win for Ole Miss. Then you go on the road to a hostile Texas A&M. I do think this is a loss for Ole Miss. Then you get your bye week. Then the next two games is going to be a split for Ole Miss. I think you win one and you lose one. You get Alabama at home, then you go on the road to Arkansas. I don't know which one is which, but you're going to win one and lose one. Now, it is possible that you lose both, but I don't think that happens. And then finally, your rival Mississippi State at home, that's a win. So I have Ole Miss going 10-2, but worst case scenario, 9-3. That's still a pretty good stinking season for Ole Miss. So Lane Kiffin continues to build his resume. He is a high-profile coach. He thrives in the spotlight, so he would absolutely love it at Texas. This would be a perfect match. Texas needs a high-profile coach that knows what he's doing. Lane Kiffin loves the spotlight. I'm telling you, Lane Kiffin could take Texas to new heights. Heights they haven't seen in a very long time. And Texas is headed to the SEC. They need a coach that knows the SEC pretty well. And we all know Lane Kiffin by now knows the SEC pretty well. And he knows how to win in the SEC, even in the SEC West. Now in the future, I do think the SEC scraps divisions. So to me, it makes perfect sense for Texas to hire Lane Kiffin and for Lane Kiffin to accept the job. And I think it makes sense for Arch Manning because Lane Kiffin would be able to maximize Arch Manning's potential. And it would keep the Manning legacy intact. Trust me, if you ruin the Manning legacy, they're going to be mad at you, and it's not going to be pretty at all. It'll get downright ugly. So y'all let me know in the comments section, what do you think about this idea? Lane Kiffin to Texas. Number one, do you think Steve Sarkisian is going to last at Texas? And number two, do you think it's a good idea for Lane Kiffin to go over to Texas and for Texas to hire him? Can't wait to see your comments on this one. That's all I got for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.